Okay, so next let us define our tools that we would use in building our AI agent. And these tools would be built using Langchain. So we can say from Langchain dot prompts imports prompt templates, and we say from Langchain dot agents import to agents type and initialize agents. Okay, next we would also need to from python.env we need to import load env, and then we call it. Okay, and then also we would want to import OpenAI. So we say from Langchain OpenAI imports chat OpenAI. All right, so let us define our tools. So the first tool that we are going to create would be the contents cleaner. You can see it's one contents cleaner. Okay. And this would be a method, and we'll call the method clean content tool. And in this, we want to send the raw text to this method, and it would, clean it up. So in this content, so first of all, we want to pass the prompt template. So we're going to say prompt templates prompts. We would use this prompt templates here. We would pass the input variable. Now the input variable is what we are giving to this tool to work with. Remember, AI agents, they will need to be given context for them to achieve their goal or do their tasks. And secondly, we would give it a prompt. So we want to give it instructions like in order to achieve Y, you will need to do step A, B, C to achieve Y. And then we would also need to give it an LLM, which would be the brain behind this tool. So it would handle the tasks for us. And lastly, we want to give it a prompt chain. So a Langchain prompt chain is what carries out the action. So it takes the prompt template and the LLM and uses that to execute the task that we have defined in the prompt. So the first thing would be the input variable, and the input variable, as I said, it would be a content. Now after the input variable, the next thing that we want to do is the template, and this is the template I want to work with. And the template is: you are an expert content cleaner. Your task is to clean the following text by removing any unrelated or unwanted data, such as the navigation link, the advertisements, the social media prompts, the footer text, and ensure that the content is concise, focused, and ready for further processing. But you are meant to keep the core content and the structure while removing the distraction. And then I'm passing the content, which would be this raw text, and then I'm not telling it that it needs to return the clean content, ensuring that it is well structured and free of those unwanted stuff. So now that we have created the prompt templates, the next thing we want to do is to define our LLM, the brains behind the tool. So we'll do LLM equals to, and we would use this chat OpenAI, and then we would define our model. So the model that we want to use is the GPT-4o, and then we want to pass a temperature. Now a temperature in this case is the level of creativity you want your LLM to have. 0 0.1 means that you want your LLM, that is, you want the response to be strict and it shouldn't have any sense of creativity. And 0 0.8 or 0 0.9 or 1 means that you want your LLM to be very, very creative in their response or in their outputs. So for me, I want to define this as 0 0.3. I want the response to be very strict. I don't want it to be creative. I just want it to get the task done without any sense of creativity whatsoever. So this would be 0 0.3. And then I would pass the API key. Now, the reason why I had to call this load.env is so that I would be able to get my API key that I have defined in my .env file and send it here. Let's say os.get. Oh yeah, I forgot to import os. So os.get env open API key. Now always ensure that you get this you get the name of your API key that you have defined in your env file correct. If not, you would have some errors. After this, we would want to create a chain. The Langchain prompts chain would use this prompt templates and the LLM. It would use them to execute the task. And sorry, then we are going to do chain dot invoke. So now this chain dot invoke is like it's the dot invoke is the method that we use to run the task. So we want to add that to our return statement, and inside here we want to pass the contents, because in the template we are passing the content to the LLM. So now we want to pass this raw text here. So we see raw text. We want to pass this raw text as the content for our LLM or for our tool to make use of. So this is how you can define your tool in Langchain. So I will just copy this and duplicate it for the remaining tools, and then I just have to edit some parts. So to the content validator, and in this content validator we can just change the name to validate content, but we are no longer passing the raw text. Instead, we want to pass the cleaned text that we would be getting from our clean content tool. So the other thing that we need to change here would just be the templates. And now we have our template. So the template is you're an expert content validator. Analyze the following text and determine if it's meaningful, well structured, and suitable for generating a mini course. Now, if the content is valid, just return valid content along with the brief summary of why it is suitable. But if the content is not valid, return invalid content and provide like actionable feedback on how to improve the content for the mini course generation. And we are passing the content, that's the clean text, as the content, and then we want to return the validation results. Now we would keep this the LLM configuration the same, because we still want our validation tool to be strict as well. But for this content here, we will be passing the cleaned text. So now in this valid content too, now remember that in the prompts we are returning your valid content if it's valid, invalid content if it is invalid. Now we want to structure our tools in a way that if the content is invalid, you want to send that to the content improver to improve. But if it's not invalid, then there's no need to send that to the content improver. Okay, so we have added the logic here, and the logic is if invalid content is in the results that we get from the valid content too, we want to split the contents. I'm sorry, want to split the feedback and then return for false if it's invalid, but if it is valid, we want to return true. This way we can easily track when a content is valid and when it is invalid. So next up, let's just build the next tool. So now the next tool would be the content improver. Now in the content improver, we are going to be passing two arguments. We'll be passing the invalid text and the feedback. That way we would be the content improver tool would be able to improve the content. So we'll just change the name of this to improve content, content tool, and change the argument or the parameters. So invalid contents, then feedback. And in the input variable, we now want to add the feedback that we are getting. We would define the templates. And now the template says that you are an expert content editor, and then it wants to pass the content and the feedback, and it wants the tool to return the improved content in a well structured format that would now be used for the mini course generation or generator. Now the LLM and the chain would still be the same. So instead, in this result, we would want to, so in this result, we want to pass the invalid content as the content. Then for the feedback, we want to now pass the feedback. But then instead, we want to return it, not to add it as a result here, because in the content validator tool, we added our response as a result, to track valid and invalid content, but we don't want to do such tracking in the content improver. So lastly, we want to create the last tool, which would be the mini course generator tool. So in the mini generator tool, we would be passing the content which is the validated text as the input variable. Will be passing a template, and even inside the template will be sending the contents, the validated content. That's what we'll be using to generate the mini course, and this part will still remain the same. And here we will be sending the validated text as the content. This is how to define tools in Langchain.